does Vlad enjoy his life, right? And the reason I ask is this, right? I enjoy my life, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a DJ. I can go out. I can hang out with my kids. I don't need security every time I go out. I can travel with my wife. But with the artists that sometimes you interview, when you go out, you need security. Or do you not?
I only use security when I go to certain events where I may run into certain artists and entourages and so forth. When I walk around LA, when I'm at the mall, when I'm at a restaurant, I never have security. I usually carry a weapon on me just in case, but I never ever have security when I'm just walking around. And contrary to popular belief, I'm absolutely loved. Like I stay in Brooklyn a lot now when I'm out here. I can't walk down a Brooklyn block without a couple people walking up to me, telling them how much they love my work, asking for pictures, introducing their kids, going into stores. I was at Supreme yesterday where I bought this shirt. Like half the store knew who I was, wanted to take pictures, like, you know, gave me their number. Yo, if you need anything, whatever else. Like this is the reality of my life. My reality is not everywhere I go. Like the Tekashi situation where he got jumped in the gym and so forth, that doesn't happen to me. Mm-hmm. It could. I'm not saying that I'm invincible or whatever else. I'm universally loved. We're not universally loved. Mm-hmm. But it's not like I am known as a snitch or I'm, you know, people like to say that I get people locked up. Who did I get locked up? Name one person.
Nobody I know.
I can name you one person. Keefe D.
Did you got him locked up?
Well, I didn't get him locked up, but my interview with him
was used.
It got on the radar of Las Vegas PD, from what I heard. They actually tried to get that footage for the trial, which I didn't cooperate on. You know, they never got the footage. But you could say that interview had a series of events that led to someone getting locked up. But in his case, he wrote a book detailing everything we talked about in the interview. If you're going to write a book about a crime, you can't get mad that the interview about the book ends up getting you arrested for the crime. But outside of that, you can't name a single person. Casanova 2 times, nothing to do with my interview. Arab, nothing to do with my interview. Mm-hmm. I could keep going. Taxstone, nothing to do with my interviews. You could ask those people, and they'll tell you it has nothing to do with Vlad. But people like to say, oh, look, you know, the internet, oh, there's an interview that Vlad asked Casanova about being a gangster, so obviously that's why he went to prison. No, he went to prison because there was actual evidence. He was DMing people. He was texting people. People cooperated. There's this, there's that. Him talking about him being a gangster 20 years ago had nothing to do with this case. But people like to feign a narrative, and that's okay. I'm the bad guy sometimes, and I understand that.
When you are the bad guy, and there's been artists that have done other interviews and called you bad guy, that got on social media and called you the bad guy, have you ever ran into them and approached them and had conversations with them?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think who, but I never duck these kind of situations. Like if I see someone out, I'll go talk to them. And usually it'd be like, who did I run into? Like, me and Polo G, we had a talk about that. Mm-hmm. We ran into each other at a bank in Calabasas, and we went outside and we talked because he had said some things about me negatively, and I'm like, why not just call me and tell me that if that's how you feel, because I gave you one of your first big looks, you know? But I also understand that when it comes to this game, we're not like a major morning show on a major radio station that's owned by the biggest radio conglomerate in America, if not the world. So a lot of artists feel that coming up, they could do Vlad TV, but once they get to a certain level, they don't have to mess with Vlad TV anymore. Like, for example, like G Herbo, I was talking to his people about doing an interview, and ultimately he passed, but he did some podcast that got 678 views. Mm-hmm. Not 678,000, 678, less than 1,000 views. He spent an hour on this podcast, but he wouldn't do Vlad TV. But Vlad TV was interviewing him over and over again on his come up. But once he gets to a certain level, well, he don't want to do Vlad TV anymore because Vlad TV's the feds now and whatever. I feel like that's lame, but that's life.
Does that bother you though? Do you feel, because it almost
from a competition
it
level,
feels like
it
it's
does
almost like
bother me.
entitled, like
It does.
you're entitled to come here.
No, he's not entitled to do anything. No one's entitled to do like, I don't feel as entitled, but I feel like humans are naturally, like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, if you do something for someone, most humans will try to return that favor for you.
Reciprocate it, yeah.
Yeah. The reciprocal beings, right? I've learned over time that when people do something for me, I try to do something back. It may not be the exact same thing, but it's always in the back of my mind. So I feel like, like, I looked out for you when no one was checking for you. When you were just an up-and-coming artist. I did the Migos' first interview. You haven't seen the Migos on Vlad TV in forever. I did a lot. Big Sean's one of his first interviews. You haven't seen Big Sean in forever. They'll go and do other platforms. They'll do that White Girls, podcast.
Bobby
Altaf, because she's kind of like quirky or whatever else. So it doesn't bother me. I don't feel entitled, but I feel like, damn, like we put together some dope work. And you go and pass on me to do some lame shit.
But you know the reason why, though.
Why is that?
It's a softball interview. It's like, when I'm coming up in this game, I need every look that I can get.
Right.
When I make it, why am I going to go to Vlad? He's going to ask me a question that I don't want to answer. Why am I going to go to Breakfast Club when I want to answer certain questions? It's the same reason why Drake did Bobby also. Drake controlled that interview.
Yeah.
He controlled that interview.
No, I get
right?
you.
He can, he can say, make sure, like, he can't come up here and say, don't ask me about this. You're going to be like, fuck you, I'm going to ask you about this. Right?
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? Same thing with the Breakfast Club. So those are the reasons why they get to a point in their career where they're like, fuck it, I don't need it. Until they need it again.
But the thing is that you could sit down with me and, the way we were talking about, like, I really don't want to talk about this, and I'll respect that. We could sit down and have a conversation and say, listen, like, I want to do this, but just don't ask me about this, this, and this. And I will respect it.
That's a lie, Vlad.
You don't think so?
If Drake comes up here and says, I don't want to talk about none of the Kendrick beef.
No problem. I'm still getting a Drake interview.
And you're not going to ask him anything about the Kendrick interview?
If those are the rules, Drake will do Vlad TV for the first time ever. But do not ask about Kendrick. I will not turn down that interview. And I don't think you guys will turn it down either.
We would.
You would?
To not ask him about Kendrick. We don't have to ask about the details of the legal case, but to ask where it started, why. When him and J. Cole were best friends and it seemed like there's certain things that you would want to ask, just as a hip-hop head, not even no chatty patty stuff, just as a hip-hop head, you would want to know. Right or wrong?
Well, you and I are approaching it a little bit differently, right?
Because there's just certain things that, we know the history, but see, I interviewed Drake before and I went through that already, but to go into, and I don't care about who won the battle, who not, but just somebody's mind frame. Because Drake has really never done an interview after all his shit.
He did Bobby Altaf recently.
Come on.
Right.
Like, think about it. Like
he touched on certain things on there.
Like, I would want to go back to him and Meek going back and forth, right? And does he really have a writer? How deep is his writer? Is it just helping you with hooks? These are the things that you would want to know as a hip-hop head. I would want to know as a hip-hop head, and we would love to answer. From the beef with Pusha T, how that started, why he bought the jewelry, did he melt the jewelry? Like, all that stuff we would want to know. And if he said, you can't ask me anything about my album, you would still do it?
So I could only ask him about his new album?
Correct.
I mean, if it was that limited,
Vlad, I would tackle you outside as soon as you walk out this building. If
you and I, listen, but you and I are speaking from a slightly different perspective, right? Because you're on the Breakfast Club, which is ultimately owned by iHeart, right? And whether the numbers are crazy or the numbers are kind of tame, you still have your position. With me, it's all the bottom line for me.
You're a journalist, though, at the end of the day.
I am a journalist, but I'm also a business owner, and you have to kind of balance the two. So you mean to tell me a softball Drake interview that might get 10 million views, even though a softball, or no Drake interview at all, business-wise, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. I would ultimately have to play ball with that if that was the rule, because you also think that in a situation like that, okay, I'm going to follow the rules. This is going to set up a relationship. Like, me and Tekashi now have a relationship now. We now talk on a regular basis, and we're talking about doing more shit and whatever else. There were certain things he didn't want to talk about because he had an open case as well, right? And I respected that. So you have to sometimes give up certain things that you really want to do for the
I get what
long
you're
term of it. So I know that's not the answer you want,
No,
but
I understand what you're
I'm
saying.
giving you an honest answer.
Yeah,
I would
of
not.
course.
I would just simply not turn down a Drake interview because it's Drake.
I got you.
Same thing with a Jay-Z interview, same thing with a Nas interview, same thing with an Obama interview, same thing with a Trump interview. Now, sometimes those people don't give a shit. I'm sure Trump doesn't care. Trump, you could ask him anything. But for example, you had a situation where like Kamala Harris didn't want to do Joe Rogan unless it was on her terms.
Correct.
He turned it down, and ultimately everybody lost. She lost the election. He lost an interview with Kamala, and look what happened. Nobody wins. He could have done something, and it could have been phenomenal. We don't know. Maybe all the things, because sometimes people will say, I don't want to talk about this, that, and the third. But once you really get good at what you do, there's ways of getting into certain things. And sometimes people just start talking about it themselves.
Of course, happens all the time.
So that's what I'm saying. I would take the opportunity to interview Drake, even if there's a whole bunch of like landmines that I can't step on, because I think there's still so much of his story that you could talk about outside of the Kendrick beef that's going to really react.